Today is Thursday, March 26, 2015, 7 p.m. Our invocation this evening will be given by Mrs. Turner.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We bow our heads, please. Oh, Heavenly Father, we're going to take this moment to stop and realize that we need to thank you for all the blessings that you've given us for today. Thank you for the health and safety of our family. Thank you for being with us and leading us and guiding us, O Lord. We thank you for your forgiveness, but most of all, we thank you for your Son who died to save us. As we prepare for the spring and look at Easter, O Lord, that we know that you have truly risen, and for that reason we can live today. We thank you in many other things, and in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Okay, we have established a quorum. Councilman Tejada, Councilman Cruz, Councilman Nieto, Councilman Rodriguez, Councilman Guerrero will be unable to attend tonight. Now, everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This time, I'll entertain any citizens' comments.
Mayor, Council, I'm Fred Gonzalez and I live in Floresville. As you know, it's been a while since I've been up here. You may recall the last time I was here, I was diagnosed as being senile by Mr. Rowland. Being the gentle soul that I am, I was intimidated. So please bear with me if I seem a little too timid. My comments tonight have to do with item 3C. All of us need to be mindful that the visitors and tourist funds that we're dealing with are in essence Floresville money. That is, the contributors, i.e. the taxpayers, are Floresville hotels, motels. Thus, when we allocate monies to projects that meet the requirement, heads to beds, it is imperative that we strive to assure those beds are in the hotel, motels that are providing the funds, meaning Floresville. By the same token, those members appointed to the Bureau to represent the city should be citizens of Floresville. In essence, that's what representing the city means. To assure of this, the bylaws need to clearly show the requirement. Thank you for your attention and time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we're going to go on to 1, old business, consideration and action to approve meeting minutes for regular council meeting on February the 26th, 2015.
Mayor, just an edit, please. On the citizen's comment, I'd like for Mr. Doug Jones to be identified as the president of the Parks Foundation, making the comment that he would like the council to give the Parks Foundation the opportunity to put on a holiday extravaganza. If we could just edit as Doug Jones, Parks Foundation president.
Okay.
With that edit, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilman Tejada, second by Councilman Rodriguez. Councilman Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Nieto?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Madam Mayor, the second minutes,
Can I read it out first, please?
I'm sorry,
Can I read it out?
go ahead.
Item 1B, consideration and action to approve meeting minutes for regular council meeting on March the 12th, 2015. Okay.
The same edit Mr. Doug Jones from the Parks Foundation, president of the Parks Foundation. Previously, he asked for funding for the holiday extravaganza. He came back to the next meeting and said how the extravaganza lost money. If we could identify him as a Parks Foundation president.
Okay.
With that, Ed, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Tejada, second by Councilman Ortiz. Councilman Nieto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to go on to our presentations and discussions under 2A, presentation, Johnny Luna Retirement Plan.
Mayor and City Council, it was brought to my attention that we did not properly present to Mr. Luna, a long-serving employee for the city of Floresville. The plaque reads honoring Johnny F. Luna, 2014, in recognition of 20 years of dedication service to the city of Floresville. Johnny's in the audience. I'd like him to come to the podium and accept his plaque.
I'm not too much in speaking, but I just want to enjoy the privilege that I have here, and I want to thank everybody for this description, Mrs. Turner. And God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council.
Thank you, Henrietta.
Thank you, Mr. Luna.
Johnny.
Okay, now we're going to go on to 2B, our financials, February 2015, revenue and expense fund balances, sales tax report. Connie?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And with all due respect, I would like to request and see if we can go ahead and present the audit before I present financials.
Ms. Wagner?
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Jeremy Barbato. He is my colleague with ABIP, and he'll be doing the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. You should have a bound document in front of you, accompanied in the back by some staple documents. I'll get to the staple documents, and I just want to go over the bound document first. Turn to page 1. It's actually the 4th page in the report. Is the independent auditor's report. This is our report that y'all contracted with us to perform. It states management's and the auditor's responsibilities. Manager's responsibility is over the financials of the report. And our responsibility is to express an opinion on the report and the financials, and that they are in compliance with generally accepted accounting standards. On the next page, the opinions paragraph. This is the most important paragraph of this whole report. Is that we didn't find any modifying statements. It's a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion. It's the highest opinion that you can receive. It basically means that your financials are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, generally accepted in the United States of America. So there's some other paragraphs in there, some required information that we're required to supplement the financials according to government accounting standards boards. Those are your budget to actuals on your major funds, your general fund, your debt service, and 2 new major funds popped out this year, which were your street maintenance and hotel motel tax. Other information are your supplementary schedules, the combining statements, the non-major, the child safety, the smaller funds that don't get presented on the face of the financials. I'd like to kind of dive into the report a little bit on page 13 of your report, 12 and 13. This is your balance sheet of the entire city as a whole. I'd like to focus your attention on page 12, the third column there, the total column, which combines your governmental and your business type activities. Total cash for the city is $2.8 million. It's a pretty healthy number, split pretty evenly between governmental and your business type activities. Overall assets is $21 million. Most of that's tied up in your capital assets related to your infrastructure, your plant distribution for your utilities, and your note receivables that you have your interlocal agreements with 4A and 4B. Liabilities amount to $9.8 million. Most of that's tied up in debt. Some of that debt is going to be paid back by 4A and 4B through your interlocals, so that makes up most of that. The plug there, your net worth or your net position is the correct terminology, comes out to $11.8 million. Sounds like a big number. 8.4 million is tied up in fixed assets, your infrastructure again. And then you have about 1.5 that's restricted for a particular purpose, leaving 1.6 million for unrestricted and ongoing operations. So it's a pretty healthy fund balance. If we go to the next page, this is your full accrual level of statements of activities. To focus your attention on the middle of page 15, your total column there that combines your governmental and business type activities. Total expenses was $4.3 million for governmental activities and about 3.7 for 2.4 for your business type activities. Total of 6.8 million. Sounds like a big number, but we're bringing in a lot more revenue. Total revenue for the city was right around $8 million, a net increase of 1.2. However, some GASBs came out that kind of dinged you a little bit, not in your control. Some bond costs that were assets in prior years, basically extending the life of those costs over the life of the bonds that you could expense over the life of the bonds. Now GASB says you have to expense them as of the first of the year. This went into effect for all cities. It's a new pronouncement that we have to implement. The total bond cost that hit your fund balance was $671,000. Another GASB that implemented was GASB 45 on your other post-employment plans, benefit plans. That also went into effect this year. We had an actuary study come in and perform an actuary on the financials, on your employment plan. So 161 got deemed on y'all as well. Again, that's outside of y'all's control. Focus on that 1.2 of net operating income. That's a healthy number. Overall, you increased about 400,000 even after the 830 deemed from outside of your control. So a good year. On the next page, 16 and 17, this is where you are more accustomed to seeing your fund level financials, where y'all base y'all's budget and operations. The general fund there, your first column on page 16, this is your balance sheet for it. Not a lot of cash, $15,000 in cash. Most of your assets is tied up in sales tax receivable, that $270 that's due from the state comptroller. Not a lot of liabilities, which is good. You have $35,000 in liabilities. Most of that's related to accrued salaries and payables to vendors. So the plug there, your fund balance is $252,000, which is a substantial increase from last year's balance, which I'm going to go over on the next few pages. Your total fund balance is $2.007 million. Again, most of that is tied up in restricted amounts for debt service, other funds obligations such as street maintenance and hotel motel. So the key focus is your $252,000 in unrestricted general fund balance. On the next page, it kind of describes how we increased the fund balance so much on page 18. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Total revenues for the general fund came in at $3.5 million. Total expenditures was $3.6, bringing a deficit of $92,000. Sounds like a big deal, but we brought in some transfers from other funds. These transfers were budgeted and a result of salaries to continue ongoing operations in those funds. So that's the reasoning for the transfer, because the general fund was picking up those expenses, so the other funds were paying them back through a transfer. So your total net change in fund balance is right there, third line up, in the general fund of $322,000. Again, that's a substantial increase from your deficit of $70,000 last year. So your net ending is $252,000. GFOA likes to see about 3 months of operating expenditures in your fund balance. So if we take your $3.6 million and divide it by the 12 months, you come up with $300,000. You're right under 1 month of operating income, of operating expenses. So if no revenues came in for the city, you could substantially keep going for just a little under 1 month. That's a substantial increase from last year's deficit. So that deserves a pat on the back for management and the budgeting process that they did. The other funds there, on the activity there, all increases. We didn't spend as much as we brought in, which is a good thing. So we're building some reserves there related to hotel motel and street maintenance. Again, $2.007 million in total fund balance. We'd like to see some spending of those restricted funds, and building more general fund reserves as well. The next page is your business type activities, which encompasses the for-profit piece of the city, if you will. So your total cash in the proprietary funds is $1.1 million. Your fund balance is $4.5 million. So we got a lot of cash tied up in our net investment in capital assets. On page 21 is your income statement for your proprietary funds, which these should all generate more money for infrastructure and continuing use. And if you look on the bottom there, third line up, all of them have increases in fund balance in that position. $439 for your waterworks after a $59,000 for salaries transfer back to the general fund. For your refuse fund, you had $118,000 after a $200,000 transfer back to the general fund for the general fund picking up the tab to keep that fund going. The administrative pieces and such. The next few pages are kind of related to your notes to the financials, kind of give you a little more detail on what the numbers here represent and a little more analysis. I wasn't going to go over those in too much detail unless you'd like me to. Okay, on page 56, kind of towards the back, last pages of the report. Y'all qualify for a Yellow Book audit or a government auditing standards audit. So we're required to issue this report as well. We looked at your internal controls over compliance and financial reporting. It lists out what a significant deficiency is and a material weakness. A significant deficiency is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement could occur in your financials and could not be prevented or detected and corrected timely by management. And a material weakness is a little more severe than that. We didn't have any material weaknesses this year. However, we did have a significant deficiency. On the next page, on page 58, it lists out our summary findings. In 2000, in the bullet there, 2014-1, your municipal court, this is a continuing comment from last year, your court system's on a different server than the financial reporting module. We'd like to see those integrate together. They're able to, they're being administered on the same software, they're just on two separate servers. So we'd like to see those two servers kind of communicate to each other and be a little more transparent to the finance department. So that's our recommendation there. Summary of prior year findings, the next bullet there. 2013-1, we had that fund balance deficit. We took that out. That's no longer a significant or material non-compliance because we improved our bottom line in our general fund. 2013-2 on the next page, your payroll matters. This relates to comp time and vacation time not being accurately tracked, and management has put in implemented a process to better track that and show the employees of what their balances are and such. And then the 2013-3 is a municipal court payment or a comment that we still have. With that, that's the end of the report. I don't know if there's any issue or any things you want me to go over in more detail.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question? Last night I attended the audit with the meeting, and
Yes.
there were some questions that I asked at Wagner and researcher that I think it was last year that council had to confer with the 4A pertaining some funds that council had to get permission from the 4A. And I didn't, the Parks Fund.
Okay.
Sorry. And I don't think we should get permission from the 4A, I mean the parks. This money is from the citizens from Floresville.
Right, to help maintain your parks.
Right. When that money is ours, and they have no control over this, you know, why should we ask them for our money? That's puzzling.
I believe it's an ordinance that was written. I'm not sure if that.
I wasn't here, so that's. And I'm asking council to, take that into consideration. The future, we should not go before the Parks Foundation. Look,
Could you, Madam Mayor,
it's part of the budget.
can you say the question again? I want to hear the question, please.
Are you talking about the dollar fund?
Right, the
Yes.
dollar fund, that we should not confer with the Parks Foundation and ask them permission for us how to use our money. You know what I mean?
I don't think you're required to. Are you talking about what's in the Parks Foundation's charter?
Yes. Right.
And you're talking about the ordinance that established the money.
Right,
You're perfectly free to take that language out of there if you want to.
okay. Thank you.
Is there any more questions on the bound document?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If not, I'd like to pull your attention to the staple documents. The last two reports we're required to talk to y'all about. The first one, it has a blank paper and it says a letter of conduct on audit. This is our required communication with y'all. We deal with management to do our audit, and we rarely get to see y'all who are in charge of making the decisions on behalf of the city. This is our required communication with y'all on how the audit went, basically. Qualitative aspects of accounting practices. This was that new GASB that came in, number 65, related to those bond costs I referred to earlier. We had to implement those this year. Y'all had a $690,000 hit, so just wanted to let y'all know that again. Accounting estimates are an integral part. These are depreciation, your allowance for doubtful accounts. They're not actual numbers, they're estimates, and we analyze those estimates and they appear reasonable to the financials as a whole. The next page, any corrected or uncorrected misstatements that were material, we're required to notify y'all. We didn't have such misstatements. The books were in pretty good shape, so we didn't have any real material findings or misstatements to bring to you. Nor do we have any disagreements with management in conducting our audit. And, to my knowledge, management hasn't sought a second opinion with other certified public accountants. If that had happened, the certified public accountant would be required through our standards to communicate with us to give full facts and circumstances to make the decision. To my knowledge, that didn't happen. And then the next staple document is another required communication. This lists out, again, the significant deficiency we had. It's on the next staple document. It's our required communication with y'all. It basically talks about the significant deficiency with the municipal court being on a separate server than the financial module. So we'd like to see those implemented, and that's our recommendation to the city. Was there any questions over anything I covered today? I hit you fast with a bunch of numbers. Thank you. I'd like to thank Connie and her staff on helping us. Couldn't have done it without her. She brought a lot of help and helped us analyze the numbers and time down. So I'd like to thank her and her staff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We want to thank y'all for an excellent report. I know we're staring at four walls there for a while.
We're used to it.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Mayor, can I ask you to move into approving the audit so that way we can go ahead and review?
No, we're going to keep them on that.
And then if you could mention for the record that we had a meeting in the audit committee last night, and the recommendation that the audit committee came up with for the record, please.
So, Chairman Mayor, can I get one to do that?
Someone who is on the audit committee.
The what?
The recommendation from last night's meeting.
That one's on report. Just to make a motion?
Councilman, what I need is for you to, for the record, for the purpose of the record, that you attended an audit committee last night and the recommendation from the audit committee so that we can enter that into the record.
Great. I make a recommendation that we approve the audit from last night.
Councilman, you are on the audit committee, and I just need you to say for the record that you attended the meeting last night and reverse for the record what the recommendation of your committee was.
Okay, one of these was at the meeting, the audit committee last night. And
It's a recommendation of the committee that you.
recommendation of the committee that I approve the audit.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for the record. We're going to indicate that the committee met last night. We had a quorum, and that the committee recommended that they approve and accept the audit as presented to them.
With that, we're going to go to item G, consideration and action to approve the City of Floresville 2014 audit.
So I make a motion to approve the city of Floresville 2014 audit.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Ortiz, second by Councilman Nieto. Councilman Rodriguez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Tejada?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we'd like to, I would like to commend the city staff as well as Ms. Henrietta, in the year that you've been here, you've already been able to turn the red into the black. They remember, so, with the help of the audit committee as well. So, I commend y'all for that.
Yeah, I think Conchi would have the credit, but yeah.
Thank you very much.
I could have done it all by myself. You all were really helpful in spending all that hard time together, helping us.
Thank you,
stay
Pat.
on the phone. Thank you.
Jeremy? Thank you.
Can we include the staff out in the field that was keeping their budgets down to?
Just make it black for next meeting.
Okay, your turn, Pat.
Okay. I am here to present the February 2015 budget. And because I got all excited, I forgot to change the month on my spreadsheet. So you have January. I apologize for that. And yes, I would like to thank everybody in my staff, which is me, myself, and I. But I want to go ahead and also the field people, the guys outside, they have made it a point to learn the budget. So they understand why we're saying no. We're not just saying no because we want to. When it's necessary, it's something urgent, we go ahead and we encourage for them to do the purchase. But it's not going to be something that is going to be wasted, or it's going to be unnecessary, or it's a purchase that is just a one, not a need.
It's so easy to spend somebody else's money.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I do believe that it is quite necessary that they educate them, that they're educated to make the decision on what their budgets are being, how their budgets are affected.
Yes, and I spent all this year doing that, to the point that now the people that have outspent themselves in the process has been Elaine from Service Department. It has been Beto, what's it, Pato. He's not even a supervisor, okay? He took it upon himself to learn the budget so he could help Andres. So to me, that's something that is very, we have to recognize that. We just have to recognize it. And not only them out there, here in the office too, I have taught people how to read the budget, and I tell them this is the line items that pertain to what you do. This is the only money that you have available. Don't spend it all. It's like I told my daughter, you got the money, that doesn't mean that you're gonna have to go and blow it all in one day. You have to save money. So you have to teach people like that, because unfortunately nowadays, I don't know if it's the economy or if it's the way we raise kids nowadays, we're not so conscious about how we spend the money. So we have to educate people, and the more education that we give them, the better my job is. Because I know that when I tell them no, they understand the reason why. So it's very certain that I say no when they come and they ask me for something, because they already know that they need to come only when it's a necessity, when it's something urgent or an emergency. So I want to thank everybody, my city manager also for supporting me, because without her I can't do anything. If she says no, it's no. She's my supervisor.
But if
So-
council says yes?
Absolutely. If council says yes to her and she comes and gives me the directive, it goes. But, she has given me all the support that I need to go through this year. And I'm very happy to say that 2 days ago, it's been a year that I've been here. I was contracted as contract services, and I was contracted on March 24. So it means a lot to me that 2 days after I started working here, I have a good audit. So thank you very much for your assistance, for your help, for your support, and also to my city manager for all her support.
You've done a great job, Connie, and you've taken up a lot of, you overturned a lot of rocks, and you took on a large responsibility.
Yeah, and I step on a lot of toes, and they kick back. So yes, I have done that. Okay, so let me go ahead and, I'm gonna try to do this briefly because I think I already spent a lot of time. So as you can see on the first schedule of the year, well, actually it's the second, on the line where is the beginning fund balance, I can happily announce there is an audited fund balance. So all these fund balances are already upgraded, and we no longer have a deficit on general fund. As the auditors previously had said, we are $252,648 on the black. I vow to you guys that while I'm here, I'm gonna try to keep it on the black. There's always some emergencies that will prevent me from doing that, but you know, it will be justified. I will not allow it to go down if it's on my knees, okay? The rest of the funds are doing perfect. So our fund balance at the beginning of the year is $2,006,322. And I think I'm missing something there because it was $2,007,000. Maybe it's a rounding number. So on utilities, we still show a deficit, and that's because of the 4A. The 4A is included in here. I will find a way of separating it so that way it doesn't look so, so bad. So I want to say that the revenues for governmental funds for these month of February was $2,495,337. For enterprise funds, the total was $1,640,357. Current expenditures for governmental funds is $1,536,651. So we are on track right there. We have a surplus of $958,686. On enterprise funds, of course, my expenditures are $1,303,000, which is still under our revenues, and we have a surplus of $336,786. So for right now, the picture is perfect. Perfect picture. I want to go ahead and move on to the sales tax collected for the month of February. That was $330,170.79. That was the total sales tax collected for the city. The city allocation was only $165,085. Compared to the same month on prior year, the increase is $1,849. And I don't know if you have been noticing that every month that there's a trend. Some months goes up and some months goes down. And it all depends on, I suppose, the oil field. People leave, they go home, and then they come back to work. That's when the sales tax increase. Hopefully these will continue so that way we can end up on a sales tax surplus and move on the fund balance to a higher ground. So for right now, that's all I have to report. And in your packet is the sales tax history for your review, so that way you can look at it. And if you have any questions, this will conclude the presentation of my report. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to skip around a little bit again. Item 3, new business N, consideration and action to approve the preliminary and final plat for Allman subdivision.
Thank you, Mayor, for moving this up on the agenda. However, we noticed that there were some discrepancies in the final plat. And so we want to bring it back to you at a later date if that's okay. we need to make sure that we have the engineer to sign off completely. And so we're asking, staff is asking that we table it at this time until we get the final approval for the final plat portion. Preliminary is fine, but there's still some outstanding issues from the final plat. So staff is requesting that we table it at this time.
Would you still be able to give a presentation on it, or you're gonna wait till?
I would wait until we've addressed all of the engineering concerns, that we have it documented. They're willing to come back. It's not an issue. We just want to make sure we got all the i's and cross all the t's, and we are as legal as possible. Is that right, Ruth?
That's correct.
I'm gonna make the motion to table item 3N to approve the preliminary and final plat for Holman subdivision.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Rodriguez, second by Councilman Nieto. Councilman Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Tejada?
Yes.
To table this item to the next meeting. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Okay, now we're going to go back to item 3A. You know what, we went through this one. 2E, City of Floresville.
C, 2C.
Man, I skipped all the way to 3. 2C, Resolution, Rosenberg and Roder, Cowboy Breakfast. Mayor, that's not
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this would be the 13th annual year that the Wilson Area Housing Foundation will have what we call the Cowboy Breakfast. And this is scheduled. There's a flyer out there for anybody that wants the flyer on the table tonight. Basically, the Wilson Area Housing Foundation is a 501c3 organization that started 14 years ago. And it takes referrals from the Floresville Independent School District and the Post-Independent School District, primarily for assistance in upgrading housing. To qualify for assistance from the Housing Foundation, we've required that it be a referral from the school district social services officer, usually Ben Reed, or before him, Joanne Brechtel. And both does not have such an officer, so it generally comes from the superintendent. Basically, what we've done primarily is work with, unfortunately, manufactured homes, which is very difficult to rework. Some of the rework has been electrical, some of it's been plumbing. But basically, when Ben Reed or Joanne Brechtel find a house that's essentially uninhabitable, they've asked us to provide assistance. And this grew out of a Sunday school activity starting in 1995 when my wife and I were teaching Sunday school class, and a request was made for assistance for food. And after we saw the house involved, or the houses involved, we organized the foundation for providing assistance to the houses. So it's a request simply to acknowledge that the Cowboy Breakfast will take place. And this year we're doing it at the show barn as opposed to Sacred Heart, because it gives a little protection from the weather, and we get a few more tables. And a little help from the weather sometimes is very helpful. So it's simply a resolution asking you, as members of the council, we'll be asking the county at the next commissioners meeting for a similar resolution. And it reads, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Floresville, Texas, in support of the Wilson Area Housing Foundation Cowboy Breakfast, Saturday, April 25th, 2015, at the Wilson County Show Barn, 8 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. We traditionally started it at 7:30, so that's a slight change in the hour of start. And that's my presentation. I'm available for questions. Nobody on the foundation board receives any money from this foundation. All of our money goes towards the houses. And we started 3 years ago providing to respond to the same social services office for the people involved in our list of donees. We provided school clothing, tax-free at Walmart for the same group of people. So we'd like you to buy a table if you're interested. If not, tickets are $10 a head. Barbecue tickets are $20. Thank you.
We have a nonprofit rate at the event center. Maybe next year we can have it at the event center.
We tried that this year, and unfortunately, we have a scheduling problem.
No,
So
it's
we'd like to be there, Mayor.
Gloria, put him down for next year.
I certainly will, Lou, let me know what day.
It'll be the 4th Saturday in April.
Okay.
I so move that we pass the resolution.
Okay, so let me skip over to 3F, consideration and action to approve the resolution for the Rosenberg and Roderick Cowboy Breakfast. Councilman Tejada, you made the motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Tejada, second by Councilman Nieto. Councilman Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is an amendment, right? An amended resolution?
I hope it's pretty much the same one you passed last year. With the dates, the names changed.
Okay, now we're going to go on to another presentation, which is 2E, City of Floresville Investment Policy. Connie?
There's a few policies in the packet. Okay. In order for the city to go through the restructuring process of the bank for the civic center, and also to meet with the requirements of having a investment policy in place every year, in place and approved, we have a new and revised investment policy that has been revised by the person that did the presentation of the class from TML. Okay, we had one done by my previous comptroller, and it was approved back in 2013, and it had not been changed. I wanted for these investment policy to be as updated as we could have it, so I went ahead and I forwarded these policy to the presenter, which is Linda Patterson, and she works for TML, and she's their investment teacher, investment policy teacher. And she went through it and she did a lot of revisions. So now this is the new one that she has revised. I'm just presenting it to you so you can read it, and I thought we're going to include the prior one so you have some comparison. But if you do need the prior one, I can go ahead and provide it to you so that way you can compare and make your own notes. But this new policy is in compliance with TML, and it will be something that will assist us with the restructuring of the bank, and it will be something that we need to have in place, and it will be more up to date on by the investment policy laws.
Mayor, if I may, it's required that the comptroller and the city manager attend training. We did do our training in January, so we have our annual training. So we need you just to review it. The attorney has it as well. They've had some changes in laws in reference to how you can invest your money. And so the auditor looked at it as well. And so we just need you to adopt it, but not tonight. We just ask you to have an opportunity to review it, and we'll bring it back for you again.
On the first page on D, the Director of Finance. Do we have the Director of Finance?
Our Director Director of Finance? No.
So can you delete that out of it?
Yes. That will have to say Comptroller instead of the Director of Finance.
Because it says the comptroller, comma, director of finance, comma, and city manager.
We have a finance manager, but she doesn't have the credentials to apply these. I would also like to make a comment in regards to these. When we attended this class, it was brought up to our attention that most of the small cities don't have their money invested or anything. At this point, because the economy was so out of whack, any cities that would do any investment would earn very little interest. So it didn't matter where you had it, if it was on a CD, money market, or if it was on an investment pool, the interest earned was very little. And to begin with, the city of Floresville didn't have the amount of money that could be invested on something. However, we can, now that we're moving forward, even if we invest $10,000, $20,000, we have the possibility, because we get into a pool, an investment pool, we had a possibility now to earn a little bit more interest and duplicate the money. But I'm not classified and certified to do these type of investments. So I would like to just make a comment right now, because it's just a presentation, that sometime in the future we might gonna have to contract a financial investor. And Victor Quiroga, which is our financial advisor, is not an investor financer. And they cannot vote by law. Those two people cannot be one. Or those two jobs cannot be done by one person. So we have to have a financial investor and financial advisor separately. So that's something that we're gonna have to consider in the future.
Does TML have one of those persons?
Yes, and the person that did the class, she's a financial investor, and I know her because she did work for my prior employer, and she still is their financial investor.